Okay, in this video, I want to talk about inserting data into our new table. So in the last video, we added a table. We've got this users table. Now, how do we put stuff actually in it? Well, there's a couple of different ways. And I think in the first video, we're going to look at the first one, and that's just adding one row, one record. Now, you can add a bunch of records at the same time, but in this video, we're just going to do one. I think in the next video, we'll show you how to do many at the same time. So it's pretty straightforward. We just go, basically we create a variable, and let's just call this, I don't know, SQL stuff. It doesn't really matter. And set this equal to, now we need to create a SQL command. And when we add things into a table, we are inserting them into a table. So the SQL command to do that is insert into, right? Now we want to insert it into our users table, right? And now we just need to pass in what we're going to be putting in. So we had a name, an email, and an age. We don't need to put the user ID because the database will add that automatically since we put this auto increment thing. So we don't have to deal with that. So let's go name, comma, age. No, let's go name, comma, email, comma, age. It doesn't really matter well, yeah, it probably does matter where you put them. So we probably shouldn't do age email, we'll do email age because that's the way they look in the actual table itself. So then we go values, and here we're not going to put the actual values right here. We're going to put placeholders, and for our placeholder we put a %s, and that's sort of like when you interpolate in a string with Python, you'll do the same sort of kind of thing. So that's what that is. So comma, and then we'll do it again, and then we'll do it again. Oops, S. There we go. And okay, so we do this 3 times because we have 3 things we're putting in here, right? Makes sense. And let's see what else. I think that works. So now we need to create a record, right? And we can call this anything we want. Let's just call it record 1, and let's add John. And my age is 40. And we need to put this all in brackets. I always forget that for some reason. Okay, so you'll notice John goes with name, this email goes with email, and this age goes with age. They're in the same order that we listed up here, and that's important because the placeholders will put them in the order that you put them in here. You'll also notice that the strings, or varchars, which we still haven't talked about, but we'll talk about in a minute, are surrounded by quotation marks. The numbers are not. Generally speaking, when you do numbers in Python, you don't put them in quotation marks because if you do, they turn into strings. They're no longer numbers when you put them in quotation marks. So no quotation marks. Okay. So now we need to actually put this into the database. And like everything we've done so far, we need to use our cursor. So let's go my underscore cursor dot execute. And then we need to pass in 2 things. First, this SQL stuff. Oops, there we go. And then this record 1. Pretty simple. Now, if you just run this, it'll put this in the database, but it won't save it. So if you know anything about databases, if you've ever done like web development databases with, say, Ruby on Rails or Django, anytime you put stuff into the database, you need to commit those changes. It's called commit. You're committing a change to the database, and we have to do that here. So our database connection is called MyDB. So down here we go MyDB dot commit, and then that, and that should work. So let's go ahead and save this. Now, we didn't write any code to show anything on the screen, so if we run this, nothing will happen on the screen, hopefully, unless we get an error. Nothing happened, but now we can pull up our workbench here. This is why this is kind of handy. We can just eyeball this, head over to schemas, and then click on testdb, tables users. Now let's right click and do this select rows limit 1000. And boom, John, age 40. And look at this, it has a user ID of 1. Very cool, huh? So that's how you add one record. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Yeah. And you see up here, this is the SQL, right? Select, this star stands for everything, from testdb.users, and then this semicolon. And we'll talk more about SQL as we go along. Actually, you'll start to pick it up as I just keep doing things, and it's very simple and straightforward. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll look at adding multiple records at once. And then after that, we'll talk about data types, because we should have talked about that a couple videos ago, but I tend to gloss it over. But we will definitely talk about data types. And if I forget, remind me, because it's important. So that'll be in the next couple of videos.